from a lot of people with the treatment I'm going to talk about, it's first of all, it's a harm reduction treatment. And so it doesn't require abstinence out the gate. And for a lot of people, that first step to the idea of maybe I can start by reducing my drinking and it's not like I've got to quit forever and I can never touch it again. That just invites a lot more people to get started sooner. And I know that was true for me, and I've seen it be true for so many other people as well.
I'll be the light guiding you through the night when the stars just refuse to shine. And I'll be your shelter, that safe place to hide, your sanctuary.
Everybody, welcome back to Everyone's Addicted. Today's guest, Katie, has come on graciously to share her knowledge and her experience with addiction. And I think her what she has to say is very interesting. I'm very intrigued about this. So take it away and welcome.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to you for having me on and kind of opening it up to conversations that aren't, traditional recovery necessarily, which is definitely my story. So just thank you for being willing to have this conversation here.
Well, I don't think recovery is one size fits all. And I think they try to put it in a box for so many people that I just love other perspectives or other methods, or you know what I mean, like other ways, because it opens people's minds to be maybe being more willing to start recovery if it's a different way than what the box says, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah, honestly, you nailed it, Jasmine, because I've heard from a lot of people with the treatment I'm going to talk about, it's first of all, it's a harm reduction treatment. And so it doesn't require abstinence out the gate. And for a lot of people, that first step to the idea of maybe I can start by reducing my drinking and it's not like I've got to quit forever and I can never touch it again. That just invites a lot more people to get started sooner. And I know that was true for me, and I've seen it be true for so many other people as well. So, do you want me to just kind of jump into my story?
Yeah, because I just know the method is so interesting. I'm so intrigued by this. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, when I first learned about the treatment I'm going to talk about in 2017, I thought it was too good to be true. And a lot of people tell me that today because it's so unconventional and honestly sounds too good to be true. But the really cool thing about this treatment is it's been researched for over 30 years and has tons of scientific studies behind it proving it's really effective. Yet a lot of people still don't know that it exists. So it's a treatment for alcohol addiction that works to essentially reverse alcohol addiction inside the brain. It's called the Sinclair Method. It's named after the doctor who discovered it back in the 90s, Dr. David Sinclair. And in his research, he kind of showed a few different things. He argued that alcohol addiction is actually a learned behavior in the pleasure center in the brain that, of course, some of us have genetic predisposition and we're more at risk to developing an addiction, but nobody's really born addicted to alcohol or other substances. I think most people will recognize that. So he kind of showed that this is a learned behavior that gets hardwired in the pleasure center in the brain, and it can actually be unlearned or reversed. And his basic method, called the Sinclair Method, works by taking a medication called naltrexone, that it's a generic cheap medicine that's been around for decades. It's an opiate blocker, not to be confused with an
I
opiate.
take Suboxone, so I know what an opiate blocker is for. It's similar to that, right? Where it blocks it so it can't affect you and make you feel good. Is that what you mean?
Yes, naltrexone works in a similar way, but it is different from Suboxone. And to be honest, I don't know that much about
Yeah,
Suboxone, so I
yeah.
can't speak about the differences. But I know, for example, if someone is on naltrexone and they try to use opiates, they won't get any effect from the opiates.
So
With
it's a similar medication because that's just exactly what Suboxone does, right? So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool. That's good for me to know. My territory is typically alcohol, so I don't know a ton about that, but that's really interesting. Um, So with naltrexone and alcohol, it's a little bit different with alcohol because you can still get drunk, you can still get a buzz, you can even still enjoy drinking. It's just not as rewarding or as pleasurable. So naltrexone kind of blunts the reward from the alcohol. And over time, when someone does that over and over again, so they following this protocol, they essentially start by taking naltrexone and they take it before drinking. Their brain isn't getting the same reward from alcohol anymore. Over time, typically months and months, the brain unlearns the addiction to alcohol because they're doing the behavior, but they're not getting the same level of reward. And so typically takes about 9 months on average to reach what we call like pharmacological extinction of the addiction or reversal of the
Yeah.
addiction. Typically, when someone gets to that point, they're no longer craving alcohol. They might still drink, but when they drink one or two and they're just done and they're spending most of their time alcohol free. So this treatment, it's unique because it started while someone is still drinking and it works to reverse the addiction in the brain over time. And it actually doesn't require like long-term abstinence if someone doesn't want to do
Yeah,
that.
which I really like because I mean, when you're in a social setting, and I myself was alcoholic for 10 years, um, you want to have like one, you feel kind of
Yeah.
left out in some ways. I know that sounds horrible coming from an alcoholic, do you know what I mean? But you do feel left out in ways. So, like, that allows you to still feel like a normal person and not have that label or that stigma of alcoholic. You can't touch it. Like, I love
Yeah.
that so much. I never heard of it. And when I read your thing, I was like, that is like groundbreaking because it's kind of like what I said with Suboxone is it blocks you don't feel good if you take opiates,
Oh,
right? So you don't feel the euphoria from like a Percocet that you would if you didn't take the Suboxone, right?
wow.
So it does kind of the same thing, right? It's just for opiates. Methadone's a lot different, but
Okay.
Suboxone does the same thing, and then they usually generally try to wean you off of it around the same time. It depends on like what your life's like. If your life's very stressful, they'll still keep you on it for a little while. It's like, you know what I mean? It's not, they don't cut you off or anything,
Yeah.
but they'll just go by your mentality. Like if you're still struggling a little bit, just because you said it's hardwired into our brains. So if
Yeah.
you're not ready yet, they don't say, no, you can't have it anymore, right? They just
Yeah.
work with you like and try to make it like lower doses as you go along, right?
Yeah.
But
Harm
yeah,
reduction, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's why I like never knew they had that for alcohol. Like, oh my gosh, when I got sober, I wished like
I know.
because like I don't like I read your thing and I'm like, I don't really want to drink anymore either. But like
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm like, what wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if I could handle it? And like I don't know if I could, but if
Yeah.
I started on this method, then maybe I could, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not feel so socially like stigmatized, I guess you could say, because
Yeah.
people ask you out wherever you go, like, and everybody's having some, and you're like, oh, I have a pop.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing, like, um, alcohol is so socially acceptable. It's everywhere. And even, I mean, me personally, I struggled for 10 years and I hated my issue with alcohol. I wanted to fix it, but just the social pressure to drink, not to mention the craving for alcohol. I don't know if people listening will be able to relate with just that incessant desire and the mental chatter to have a drink. It was constant. And so I would like logically make a commitment, like I'm going to quit drinking, and I could make it a couple weeks or a couple months, but I would return to it again just because it's everywhere. And I was really craving a drink. And that's actually something I want to mention that's really interesting with Dr. Sinclair's research is, and this is something that's been researched a lot over the years. It's a phenomenon known as the alcohol deprivation effect. I don't know if you've heard of it, but
No.
essentially it shows that once our brains have changed and become hardwired and addicted to alcohol, and could be true for other substances as well, what happens when we remove the substance or we go abstinent is, we're not consuming it, but the brain is still hardwired to crave it. And so, what he showed in his research is that actually, once someone quits drinking and the longer they go abstinent, the more their craving increases. And if and when they return to drinking again, they end up binge drinking on it. And in my view, if you look at data for success rates of, traditional type treatments, it's estimated that 80% or more of people relapse within 6 months of leaving treatment. And I'm like, it's got
Yep.
to be the craving, like if you don't want to do something, you're not going to do it. But if you're fighting that urge every day, it's so easy to be
Alcohol
tempted.
too, because you can get it so easily. It's not like you have to
So true.
find somebody that has the stuff, you know what I mean? You just have to
Totally.
go, like it's in all, like I'm in Canada and it's in like the convenience stores and in the
Yeah,
grocery stores and at the liquor store. So it's very, very obtainable, right? So
totally.
it's in your face all the time. So but I don't understand why like I've dug deep into like learning about different ways of getting sober, and this is one I have absolutely never heard of, and I can't believe that it's something that isn't more talked about, even like because I see an addictions doctor. I'm surprised she's never ever said anything to me about it. Like that's her job as an addictions doctor. You think that she would have learned about this. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm just it's surprising that it's not more mainstream, I guess you could say. Because
Yeah.
like you said, the
And
harm reduction so much better.
yeah. And that's like there are addiction specialists that promote this and talk about it. And if you look at the information they're putting out, it's estimated that I think I saw a paper just a couple weeks ago that said like of people who are hospitalized for alcohol addiction issues, 2% or less are offered naltrexone when they are discharged. So it's just wildly underutilized. And for reasons I could talk about, like I have theories after being in this field since 2017, and I've talked to people who've been in the field for decades and, kind of explain why. But it is just wildly underutilized and wildly unknown. And I've gone to a lot of addiction conferences trying to kind of advocate for this treatment or just like have conversations around it. And some very prominent people in the space just kind of shut me down and said, well, we just believe abstinence is best. Like, no
Oh, of
conversation,
course.
not open to it. Not even, I mean, in my view, that's kind of denying the neuroscience of alcohol addiction. Like, yes, abstinence logically, it's best, it's safest, but when the brain is hijacked to crave a substance, abstinence is going to
Yeah.
be so difficult
And
because you're just wanting it.
rewiring your brain is so much more like if you're looking at long-term sobriety, rewiring your brain so that you don't like you can have a few, but like you're not living that horrible cycle of alcoholism brings, you know? And like I don't understand why they I it just blows my mind because like when I think about it, right, like I've been to programs and they're like abstinence, abstinence. And I mean, my friend and I both ended up leaving programs because we were leaning on marijuana to
Mhm.
kind of help with the cravings of the alcohol. And they
Yeah,
would be like negative to us about it, but realistically, it was keeping us from doing things we shouldn't be doing, right? Like going overboard. But if you could rewire your brain, then why wouldn't they be teaching us this? Like,
I know.
why?
I mean, that's the question, kind of my conspiratorial hat on, the rehab industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry that counts on repeat customers, sadly. And so if they know that 80% of people are going to relapse within 6 months, that's a repeat
That's
customer. And
smart. And I
so,
would, yeah. And when
yeah.
I've talked to a few women that were like go in and talk about different programs in facilities and in jails,
Yeah.
and they say see the same women coming in over and
Wow.
over and over again. It's like they see them like every few months and stuff like that, and it makes so much sense, right? And I
Yeah.
know because I wanted to go to rehab when I was younger and struggling, but I couldn't afford it. It's like in Canada, it's probably lowballing $30,000, you
Yeah.
know? And like not a lot of people have that just to go away for 90 days, you know? Like
And then
it's
what do you do when you get out?
yeah,
It's like you're still
exactly.
craving. It's still
And you're
everywhere.
leaving your life behind too, right? So like you have to stop working, you have to
Yeah.
leave your family. Like it doesn't make any sense why they and I just also they're not like teaching you, they're just saying abstinence, abstinence, whatever. But there if
Yeah.
there's a way that you can actually physically change your thinking, I I see why they would do that. I totally understand that. But
Yeah.
in this, like they always preach that they're so empathetic, and so like caring. Well, if you really were, why wouldn't you be teaching us to change our brains? Like
Yeah.
neuroscience is so important, and like if you it would make that like that rotation of coming relapse coming back relapse coming back stopping like I don't know, it's kind of like when opiates first came out and they were like pills 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 pills,
Mm.
it's like it's something that they don't really want to promote, I guess, so I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you can talk about it with me because like I think so many people would want to go towards sobriety after hearing this, because they could
Well,
ask about it. Where would
the
they find out about it if somebody wanted to find out about this?
So, I mean, there's lots of resources online. They can just Google search naltrexone or the Sinclair method. I run an online program that specializes in this treatment. We're thrivealcoholrecovery.com. I have like free resources on there for people to know, is this treatment right for me? And just to kind of learn more about it. And also I've been making tons of videos on YouTube and social media, just kind of talking about it, answering common questions. Cause for a lot of people, when they first learn about this, they're like, wait, what? Like, this is snake oil. This is too good to be true. But I'm telling you, like, there's decades of research into this treatment. And one other thing as to why it may not be well known is that naltrexone, which is the medicine used for this treatment, is generic. So it's super cheap. There's not a big pharmaceutical company doing like a marketing campaign to get this in all the doctors' hands. Like it's really cheap. It's like $30 or less for a month's supply without insurance. And so that's another reason why it's not more well known. So people can, there's tons of information online coming out more and more about it. It is gaining more traction. But if you like go to your doctor for a prescription, they still might not prescribe it, sadly. Like
Yeah.
some are open and they're willing, but general doctors, even though technically they can prescribe it, it's not an addictive drug. It's very benign, just because the lack of knowledge about it prevents them from being willing to prescribe. But that's starting to change. Like in our program, we work with doctors like here in the US and all 50 states that prescribe it. We actually have a member in our program in Canada who's battling with her doctor right now. Like they've been prescribing it, she's been reducing her drinking, and now her doctor's giving her a hard time about getting another prescription. And it makes no sense. Like
Yeah.
when this medicine is literally like saving her. Um, and I'll just say too, because you kind of mentioned earlier, like retraining the brain, and this could lead to sobriety. Like I started the treatment in 2017. I was a daily binge drinker, typically having a bottle or two of wine every day, then like binge drinking on the weekends, like all day long. Don't even know how much I was drinking on the weekends, a lot. Um, and when I started this treatment, I really liked the idea of not being able to drink if I wanted to, not having to quit forever. I did the treatment for a year. By the end of the year, I went from daily binge drinking to having like one glass of wine once a month. That was all I wanted to drink, like go out to dinner, have a glass of wine, no big deal. And now I actually haven't drank since the end of 2018 because I just have zero interest in alcohol. Like I tell people I can drink as much as I want to. I just don't want to because my brain has been fixed and the desire just isn't there. But the fact that I can if I want to is, nice. It's not a forbidden
Yeah.
fruit. And then also with this treatment, because typically naltrexone is taken before drinking, because I haven't drank since 2018, I haven't taken naltrexone either. I always keep some just in case I want to
Yeah.
drink again. But yeah, it's incredible to be in this place of just genuinely not wanting to drink, not saying like, oh, I can't drink.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like, that's what I mean by like the way that they really just pump the abstinence, but they don't like okay, they'll give you like some steps or whatever, I guess, but nobody really digs that deep into it and like this could be used for other types of addictions as well, because like you said, it's a beta blocker, so it could be used. It's like it's similar like Suboxone, but why Suboxone is cheap too. That's why they try to push the methadone on people at the methadone
Oh,
clinic. But methadone is an opiate itself, and it's very, very, very addictive. I took it once, and I was like higher than I had ever been on the opiates that I like the pills that I had taken. So
whoa.
I knew that I couldn't get sober on this medication. So they switched me to the Suboxone because I had to ask for it, right? I was like, no, I
Wow.
don't want methadone. But like you said, because it's more expensive than, because it's like $5 a day to use methadone, right? Or if you,
Yeah.
I don't know if you get to take it home how much it is, but I know it's $5 a day to take it, and you have to take it daily, right?
Wow.
And we're like Suboxone, if you get like a week's supply, it's like $5, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
I can see, and it's like my doctor really pushed hard for me because I have anxiety to take Lyrica over a lot of other drugs because Lyrica is more expensive too, right? So it makes a lot of sense why they don't do these things, but I feel like they have this obligation to do it and they're not. And like that's why I'm so happy that you're able to advocate for it as much as you do and advocate for it like because online virtually you can reach so many more people than like before, right? So like you'd have to have traveled from city to city to city to city just like talking about it, where you can at least like try to send your message out here and do the talking, right? Like
Yeah.
I can't believe doctors shut you down. I would have been like, are you kidding me?
Well, I have to tell you, so when I first learned about it, there's a TEDx talk on YouTube called How I Overcame Alcoholism by Claudia Christian. She's an actress who was like in a lot of sci-fi movies in the 80s, 90s, still does stuff today. But that's how I learned about it. And I remember thinking this is just another celebrity pushing like a gimmick or whatever because it seemed too good to be true. But I
Yeah.
was like, I have to try it. And so I knew I had to get the naltrexone. And I tried to reach out to 5 doctors in my town. None of them would prescribe it. They're like, you need to go to detox. We're not prescribing this. We might consider after you're detoxed and sober, which, like, that's just not how the treatment works. Like, if you look at the science, this medicine, and it's been even recent studies in the last year, there's studies always coming out. It can help reduce binge drinking and craving. And for most of us, the longer we're on it, the better it works. And so it kind of goes against the traditional, like, you have to detox and go to rehab and be abstinent. It allows you to start where you're at and just gradually reduce. But that was my experience where I was like reaching out for help and no doctor would prescribe it. Eventually, obviously, I found one that would, but it was very discouraging because it was the first time I'd kind of admitted to a medical professional that I had a problem. I'd always kind of lied about my drinking before that, and they wouldn't prescribe. And I get stories like that all of the time from people as well. So it's still a lot of doctors aren't willing to prescribe it, but thankfully there are specialists now that are, treating people and through telemedicine and things, it's changing. But yeah, it's unbelievable.
Well, my addictions doctor watches my podcast. So I'm going to
Oh,
ask her after I release this about naltrexone and be like, so what's your thoughts on this?
yes,
See what
that's
she
awesome.
says. So
Yeah, I know
I
it's it,
wonder.
and the thing that's really cool about this treatment is that, like you were kind of talking about earlier, people maybe delay treatment because they think, oh, AA or rehab or abstinence forever is the
Scary to
only
be
option for me.
abstinent like that.
Yeah.
Like it's scary. Like I remember being younger and being scared of the thought of never being able to drink again. Like when I was
Yeah.
24, when I first went into a program, I was terrified of that exact thought. And
Yeah.
if I would have been able to like kind of do it in my own way, because I'm somebody who likes to do things in my own way and not necessarily, you know what I mean? I just, that didn't work for me the way they did things. And I didn't know anything else. And like I had told my doctor. And so he never mentioned this about it at all. He just put me in counseling. Like
Hmm.
he's like, because we get free counseling through my doctor's office. So he just put me in counseling. He's like, oh, well, you need counseling. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that so helpful, Like,
Well, I don't know about you because I tried to go to therapy. I tried group support like before this treatment, and it didn't get rid of the craving, like that
that's what I
incessant
mean.
chatter. It's like it's still there. And eventually I would give into it because it would just become so loud. And that was like one of the first things I noticed about naltrexone and the Sinclair method. Within the first week of the treatment, my craving had dampened a bit. I was like, I'm not thinking about alcohol 24/7. Like, what is this? Because I'd been thinking about it for 10 years
Yeah,
every day, all the time, any free moment I wanted to drink. And just to have that chatter quiet down a bit and eventually go away completely, that is the most freeing feeling. Because I mean, I get emails from
imagine.
people, they're like, I'm 2 years sober and I want to drink every day. I'm like, you're sober, but like to me, that's not freedom. You're
That's what they
fighting that
call a
urge.
dry drunk, because yeah, you're fighting that urge. And it's that whole thing of thinking I can never drink again. And that's what I think almost causes the craving, because you're thinking about that aspect, and it really starts to bug you. Like for me, I know I would always give into it because I worked in the hospitality industry in all different positions, but watching other people having a good time would really make me crave it. So I would plan my drinking schedule around my work schedule, so that like that was my life as a constant cycle, and I'd be hungover at work, or sometimes to get over the hangover, I would be sneaking drinks in the
Totally.
closet or the bathroom. And like if there was an option where I could have taken that, I wouldn't be sneaking drinks in the bathroom so that I'm not hungover, or even necessarily have to feel like I plan my life around the way I'm drinking, because that's what I did. I had to plan it. And like I said, I always gave into the cravings because watching other people having a good time, I was like, it's not fair. Why do I have to be an alcoholic? Why do I
Yeah.
have to have a problem with this? Why can't I be like them? Well, I could
Yeah.
be like them. Like this is so like I just don't I get why I can see why they don't push it, but like seriously, this could help
Yeah.
so many people. It's insane.
Yeah. And I mean, I've worked in this field since 2018 and I've seen people like come in like in and out of AA for decades or in and out of treatments and never being told about this. And when they started on this medication, it just changed everything. And I'm not saying it's like a miracle or like, oh,
Yeah,
just pop a
no.
pill and everything's done. There's still work to do. If we've been drinking a lot for years or decades, it's like there's a lot of healing to do and habits to change and all of that. But just to get that medicine, what it does for me it was like the foundation of like it's chipping away at this issue in my brain. It feels like the addiction's been erased from my brain. It's like the simplest way I could put it, where my brain feels like it's back where it was before I ever even had my first drink. And to be in a place, because like as you know probably very well, like addictions are not logical. Like the logical side of us is like, why do we do this? Why are we destroying our lives? I want to get better. But then the addiction's this like primitive urge that just overrides all of our logic and reason. And so just to get that addiction to quiet down and not be that compulsive behavior anymore, and the logic starts to come online and we can think more critically about our decisions, it's just this incredible place to be, truly like empowering. And to hear people say, and this was true for me, just like, I opted to not drink tonight because I didn't want to drink, or I had a glass of wine and I didn't want another one. Like that is just a life-changing experience,
People are like,
especially.
you're an alcoholic, you
Yeah,
shouldn't be drinking. You know what
I
I
know.
mean? Like you
Yeah.
don't have that stigma either, like, or your family looking at you or all that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
because like if I was to have like a drink in front of my mom, she'd be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Right? But like I find like with the treatment with the Suboxone, it's the same kind of way where it like rewires your brain, because I have no desire to want to take opiates like
Wow.
whatsoever, right? And I feel like they're very similar medications, but it's like they're like I know that methadone is pushed, especially in the States, 10 times harder than Suboxone is.
Yeah.
And even here they try to push it, and it's because it's more expensive, right? But like
Mm-hmm.
if there's like I just think that it's not fair that there's treatments out there that can actually, like you said, empower you instead of stigmatize you. Why aren't we working towards that? Like that really like that almost makes me angry at like my doctors, you know. I want to go in there and be like,
Yeah. Well, I always think back, I don't know if you know the story of like when surgeons started washing their hands before surgery. Like there was a surgeon, I don't know, maybe it was like in the 1800s, and he proposed like, hey, maybe we should wash our hands and disinfect before like going between patients. And he was made out to be a quack for like 40 years. They were making fun of him and mocking him just for proposing like sanitation and hand washing. And now it's finally caught up, obviously. And people are like, duh, you should wash your hands. And I just feel like it's the same with the treatment system. Like it's been 12 steps, abstinence, AA, you have an allergy, you're an alcoholic, just don't drink. That's been the model for almost 100 years. And so to kind of turn this Titanic around, it's taking time. I mean, but
yeah.
naltrexone's been approved for alcohol by the FDA here in the US since 94. So it's just crazy that it's been over 30 years now and it's still like very unheard of. But yeah, it makes me angry too, which is why I advocate for it and talk about it all the time and share my story because I'm like, this, like, more people need to know about this. This is unbelievable. It's so unknown.
Even like so in Canada, instead of giving us that, they'll give you this drug that you take before you go out so that if you drink, you'll throw up. I forget what it's called.
Anti-abuse.
Yeah, so they give that out and they never ever talk about naltrexone and they just give you that and they
Yeah.
say take it before you go out or whatever. And they that's all they give us and that's all they tell us. And how is that helping anybody really, right? Like I guess
Yeah.
and you don't take it every day per se, you know, like it's not something that helps fix your brain to like be able to do things properly. It just keeps you, it just makes you puke if you drink alcohol. Like
Yeah.
it's not really how I don't, I never took it because I didn't think it was helpful. My spouse took it and thought it was like the worst thing in the world. Like he hated it. Like I think he drank on it once, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
Was very, very, very sick, right? So
yeah.
he was just like, oh, no, thank you.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, like you said, it doesn't deal with the craving. Like someone still wants to drink, but if they drink, they get sick. And I've heard stories too of people drinking on it, and it's terrible. I know I see comments. I know it helps some people. So like, I'm not here to be like, this is the one and only way. We just need people
No,
to know
yeah.
there's options, like if AA doesn't work, maybe naltrexone, maybe other medicines, maybe other therapies. And I want to clarify too, because some people are like, oh, so you're telling me if I'm 2 years sober, I should start drinking again to do this treatment. And I never want to like encourage people to drink just to do the treatment. I've worked with people who are in AA and do this treatment, but they tell me they know that it's not sustainable. They're going to relapse, like they can't keep going. And so if your treatment's working for you, like keep going. I'm not
Yeah,
saying to,
100%.
yeah, keep doing what's working, but I'm here to like specifically speak to people who those treatments aren't working for, or they're drinking a lot and they can't stay sober. Like me, that was me, or, they just want to try something else. And so this treatment, yeah, it's incredibly effective. Like it's, in my view, if someone's curious about it, like they have nothing to lose by just trying it. It's yeah, want to say that.
That's like that's the whole point of like why I have different people come on because I said it doesn't one size fit doesn't fit all word soup. But anyways, they just having those options, I think for people who are afraid to take that first step,
Yeah.
it gives them that like confidence in being able to do it in a different way than what is like the way we've all been told. And it's this big scary way. It's almost like going to church and sitting there and being like, you know what I mean? And like I've been at meetings where one guy said, he's like, um, I feel like this is like a, a negative space where people are just trying to tell who has the worst drinking stories, right? Like almost like a pissing contest, you know? And like how it like that was that's where he was saying to him it wasn't effective. So like for somebody like him, this would probably help a lot more because he was like, this is just so negative because everybody's just being like, well, I did this, oh, well, I did that, you know what I mean? So like we're there's no real like healing in that and no real like like how you stop the cravings when you're just sitting there it's almost like glamorizing your past, it's not necessarily fixing the issue. And like being able to have the knowledge of a drug that could possibly rewire your brain so that you can live without the stigma and can live a normal life, it should be more accessible is like the thing, right? Like I said, I never heard of it. So when I read your thing, I was like, wow, right? Like this is something that needs to be talked about. I'm gonna be like really pumping this one to even my doctors. I'm gonna bring it in and be like, oh, look at this. No, I probably won't do that, but I'll be like, watch my podcast. There's something
Yeah.
you can see.
Yeah, because I mean, you and I both know how many people are struggling with alcohol addiction right here, right now, today, and they would do anything to get their hands on this treatment. I remember when I was first learning about the medicine, I was like, I'll fly to another country. Like, how do I
Oh
get this
yeah.
treatment? I was so hungry for a solution and for people to know that this is accessible. It's been researched for decades. And I think that was one of the cool things that excited me about the treatment was like I could literally look at the studies and like
Yeah.
because a part of me doubted. I was like, is this too good to be true? Is it not going to work? But just reading the studies, looking at the success rates of this treatment, and understanding how it works, it was so exciting. Like people tell me I have hope for the first time in like 10 years or 20 years. And to have even just a sliver of hope. And the cool thing about this treatment, it's a longer term treatment. It's not overnight, but what happens for people is they see these changes that would have been impossible before. Like, oh my gosh, I only had 2 drinks last night. Normally I would have had 10, or I
Mhm.
didn't drink today, or I didn't think about drinking, just to see these changes that they know like their brain is healing. And that's the thing, like with traditional treatment, it almost like ignores, like I think I said earlier, it ignores the neuroscience of addiction and just pretends it's a character issue or an allergy someone has. And it's very punitive, like you need to stop, you're an addict, you're an alcoholic. And to be honest, the people I work with across the spectrum, mild, moderate to severe alcohol addiction, but they're amazing people. They're brilliant. They're entrepreneurs. They're parents. They have things going for them, but this has become the thorn in their side. And for them to know that, like, hey, you don't have to call yourself an alcoholic. You're not broken. Your brain has just changed. And guess what? It can change back and you can heal from this. And what happens for a lot of people, they get better in like a year and they just like move on with their life. Like it's like a thing of the past, not like, oh, I have to go to a meeting every day just so I don't drink or,
20 years. Yeah.
yes. They just move on and they're like, I check in on how are you doing? Oh, I'm great. I haven't drank in 3 years. It's just you heal and yeah, it's a thing of the past. You're not an alcoholic. I met a guy recently. He says, "Oh, I'm so and so. I'm a 30-year recovering alcoholic." I was like, "Whoa, like God bless him, but I could not imagine calling myself an alcoholic for 30 years."
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
wow.
That's like
And
but the daunting thing about that was my issue, right?
yeah.
That like that very thing right there, 30 years recovered, like it's daunting when you're somebody who's just starting out and you go to the meetings and there's a lot of people that have sobriety like that and they like try to tell you how to go about it. But again, we all kind of heal in our own way. So like that man probably, I don't know, did he accept what you were saying or did he kind of fight back?
He did not. And he actually, when I was telling him my story, he's like, "Oh, so you're a drunk." And I was like, "What?" Like, what?
Called you a
So, like,
drunk?
he
Like
called me
so
a, yeah. So, like, I try not to take those things personally because I feel like he's had to adapt this mentality of like, you're an addict, you're an alcoholic, it's not something you ever heal from. And so when I talk about this treatment, even though I've been talking about it since 2017, some people who just like it blows their mind to the point where they just kind of put a wall up or they can't accept it or they just think I'm crazy. And I work with doctors, one of our medical advisors in our program. He's literally the original person who discovered that naltrexone treats alcohol addiction. Like he was researching it in the 90s.
amazing.
And even he tells me, he's like, he was seen as a quack during his early days. And even still, like, it's taken decades for him to convince people that, hey, the alcohol addiction, resides in this pleasure center in your brain, and an opiate blocker can help to treat that. if you understand the basic neuroscience of how alcohol addictions are learned and the basic neuroscience of the fact that they can be unlearned, I mean, common sense, if you do something and it's not as rewarding and you keep repeating it and your brain learns, hey, this isn't as rewarding, I'm not going to want to do it as much. Um, when people understand just the basic science behind it, they're like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that's like what you said too.
Yeah.
It makes sense working with the brain rather than trying to fight it.
And I think too, like, um, AA wasn't started by a doctor that researched, or I probably shouldn't, yeah. The programs, because there's more than just AA, the
Yeah.
programs were not started by a doctor that researched for years on how to fix people. He there is a doctor involved, but he was an alcoholic too. So they came together and they came up with this program. But neither of them did like research about it or anything like that. It all started in somebody's house, you know? So like I think science prevails over like people. Yes, people have ideas, but you have to research it. That's why they do like studies and things like that on us,
Yeah.
right? So like they didn't research it. They just kind of thought this was the way and pushed it. Where like with what you're talking about, there's actual studies that show it helps. Like I don't
Yeah.
understand. Like I feel like they need to have pamphlets at least available to people if they come into a doctor's office and ask about it, you know, or
Yeah.
at least have them sitting there so when you're waiting and you're looking at the pamphlets, you can see that and possibly pull it out and look at it and start thinking like, you know, oh, this is something that could work for me, you know, like it needs to
Yeah.
definitely be more like publicized, I suppose, right? Like
Yeah.
I like because I do a brochure for the homeless, so I know that clinics allow you to put brochures out, right? So like why don't they have one for something like that, you know? Because
That's
I I remember being at the methadone clinic and one guy was screaming because they were forcing him to go to detox, like screaming. And like we seen him outside, my friend and I, before he went in for his appointment, and he was shaking and going through, you know, like the withdrawals and stuff. And they just like were like, nope, you're going to detox. And like basically he was like screaming and they were taking him out. And my friend and I are like, holy crap, like whoa, you know, like thank God we didn't have that happen to us.
yeah.
And I know they put a lot of people in psych wards too, right? Because of the hallucinations and stuff. So like it's I don't know. I feel like this is why I wanted to talk to you because I want other people to hear another option because A, that guy did not want to go and he did not want to be stigmatized and you know what I mean? And B, he probably would have had more success doing it in his own way, which I think he was trying to do, but didn't have the knowledge on how to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally. And just kind of quickly circling back to AA because it is kind of like considered the gold standard still within treatment centers. Like I've learned going to addiction conferences, the programs, most of them are primarily 12 step based in AA.
Yeah.
But even in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, chapter 3, it says something like, physicians who are familiar with alcoholism agree there is no such thing as making a normal drinker from an alcoholic. Science may one day accomplish this, but it hasn't done so yet. So the big book was written, I think, in the 1930s. And
Yeah, it
back then,
was.
science, it had not discovered something, but it has now, as of the 90s, the 80s. But I don't know who's going to update the big book and take that section out or update it and say there are other treatments, medications. What I've heard from people who, use this treatment and go to AA is they can't talk about it. They keep it quiet. They go to
They
AA for the
make you
support,
keep things quiet all the time in AA.
which
That's why I
is
don't like it.
crazy. Like that is not my dad is sober from AA. I am thankful it exists, but like it's crazy that it doesn't embrace, yeah, other
Different
treatments.
things. Before I let you go, um, talk a little bit about like your business. Like how can like people contact you? You said you have a website, right?
Yeah, so
And what is
Thrive
it?
Al
What do you guys do?
Yeah. So it's thrivealcoholrecovery.com. And what we do is we run, or I run with an awesome team of people, an online program centered around naltrexone and the Sinclair method for people who are currently drinking and want to reduce their drinking, leading to moderate drinking or abstinence. So the program includes basically everything you need for the treatment. We can refer you to a doctor here in the US. We have coaches you can work with. We have therapists. We have doctors, videos that guide you through the treatment, and a private community. So it's all done through your computer or on our app. And yeah, it's all online. It's done at your own pace, and you're really surrounded by people who are on the treatment themselves or who have done the treatment successfully and can guide you through it. I always tell people, like, when I did this treatment in 2017, it was it's still unknown, but it was very unknown at the time. And I kind of did it by myself. There was a lot of mistakes and trial and error. I didn't really know what I was doing. So I tell people this is the program that I wish I would have had when I went through the treatment. So if someone's drinking a lot and they want to plug into a private program that will help them drink less using this science-based treatment, that's what our program is for. And yeah, thrivealcoholrecovery.com. I also have tons of videos on YouTube and TikTok and other platforms. I've got tons of success stories. Those are super inspiring for people to hear from others who've been through it. So yeah, that's where they can find us.
I'll definitely link everything in the description. And thank you so much for coming on and doing this eye-opening interview with me because I'm definitely like mind blown. So I appreciate it. And I feel like a lot of other people will be. And I also feel like it will maybe make them take that first step. So thank you
Yeah.
so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for coming on, and you have a good rest of your day. Thank
You
you.
too. Bye.